I see dead people.
Here's Johnny.
Stop.
We have such sights to show you.
Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Fuck you too.
I know my boy's coming over here. I gotta get him the very best. I gotta get my boy the very best that I could get. So I got him that there Fiji.
Oh.
And he's saying, "Oh, how Republican of you."
Well, you know, they did take a poll, and Fiji was voted to be most consumed by Republicans, and Evian was most consumed by the Democrats.
You called my water racist?
Yeah.
You telling me that my water likes to drug college-age girls and rape them outside, back behind the dumpster?
While also being a white supremacist, I do.
You telling me my Fiji likes to listen to my podcast with tiki torches and the boys all out crushing a couple 2-3 cans?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at least they're listening, right?
Yeah. A listen's a listen, a subscribe is a subscribe, you know.
Yeah.
I'll get them where I could, you know.
Or you can take them these days.
Yeah. Shit.
What did you... Oh, did you drop it?
I dropped it.
You dropped your blunt.
Yeah. I'm weak. What can I say? I'm weak.
No, it was all that delicious seafood we had.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. They're delicious. Honestly, it's been better.
Yeah, the lobster wasn't anything to write
I'm
home about.
I'm not gonna joke. I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. Alley Cat likes seafood. She likes seafood a lot. You know, she likes to get some gabagoo, and she was like, "Yeah, you could take me here anytime." And I was like, "Honestly, this has probably been the least impressive time." I don't know what it was. The sauce. It was 100% the sauce. I didn't get nearly as much, and it affects literally every bite that you take, because if it's not drenched in as much garlic butter spice, then it's not going to taste as good. It's just going to be plain old fish, which is fine. Plain old fish is fine for me. You know, it's fine. It's a good night out, you know, amongst friends.
Yeah, I'm here. And who am I?
Yeah,
what's my name?
who's this guy? Hey, what are you trying to show me? What are you trying to show me? This is Lotsa Pasta, and this is my guest, Franz McBoohoo.
Yeah, in the flesh as I live.
We're not recording from separate locations like I had previously implied on a different episode. I just bided my time.
Well, you know,
I bided my time until I could get you in the flesh again. I lured you in with my salty seafood and the promises of sweet, delicious creams.
You know, I like to do charity work at least once a quarter, and I consider this a tax write-off.
This is a Make-A-Wish.
Yeah.
I'm a Make-A-Wish kid.
You just, I keep waiting for you to get put down, and I keep getting that call every couple months. Like,
if you really wanted to make my dreams come true, you'd listen to the show.
Oh. Yeah, I do enough charity work. I'm okay.
I fucking hate you.
I know. That's okay. When I can tax write it off, I'll do it. Yeah, it's nice to be back.
People do.
Yeah.
We had, I say had as in past tense, we had 4 Patreon subscribers paying as little as, I don't know, $6-7 a month.
That's
just
so
to support us.
Where's my Last of Us?
That's exactly the point I'm getting to.
What's my name?
Some that's that's the point I was getting to, Mr. Boohoo. Mr. Boohoo. You know, if I got a little bit of financial compensation, oh, you're making the big bucks now, Mr. Manager. You're making all the money now.
Yeah.
You're telling me how much money you're gonna make, Mr. Moneybags.
Mr. Moneybags. Well, I had to get the job first, and
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's how it's made. What No, the Last of Us will be up. It's actually next. It's just I need winter break, because last year I thought I was gonna do Last of Us and I pushed it off to just fucking finish Dead Space. I got like all of Dead Space up in last calendar year. Mm-hmm. Like a different one went up at a different third of the year. Yeah, I know. For a fucking long trilogy of games, that's minimally 10 hours a game. Maybe 8. No, 10. It has to be at least 10. 2 is the shortest of them all. And it's between 8 and 10. It has to be. But 3, I think, was the longest, and it's just because of that DLC. If that DLC wasn't in there, it would have been probably equal across the board. But Last of Us is absolutely coming next. Going into the new year, we're definitely going to get Last of Us and a Django Phillips series like at the same time. And I consider both of those things definitely worth watching, because we had a hell of a time playing Last of Us. I still haven't played the second one.
You gotta play it.
I know I will play it before the TV show does a second season, because I know that during the writer's strike they were talking about casting the second season, so I know I gotta get it in there before the second season comes out. Yeah. Now, I kind of watched someone play it. Kinda. I didn't watch every single beat, but I watched the important beats, the ones that get ruined for you the most. Mm-hmm. Like, you know...
spoilers!
I'm just gonna say the Big D, and then Rat King. Those are the two things that I got spoiled for me.
The Big D? Oh.
The death. The big death.
There's so much more, so that's okay. You have a lot to get through.
But it's a meaningful thing for someone who's only played the first game, let alone played the first game 6-7 times.
I'm sorry that you had that spoiled for you.
We've played the first game before together.
That's such a shame. Going into that game fresh and seeing that scene is hard.
Oh no, it's still going to be hard, because I really am the type of person who separates like the book from the movie. Someone like telling me that something's going to happen and then me experiencing it myself are two very, very different things. Like, I read all the spoilers for Endgame before it came out, and on paper it doesn't sound as cool, but then you go and you see Captain America pick up Mjolnir and you're like, they nailed it. Mm-hmm. So watching a streamer kind of babble through the scene emotionally, you know, reacting to it, I was completely disconnected. I was like, this is going to be a completely different experience when I have to get through it myself. I'm really going to feel it when I get through it myself. I know I am. Because you know how I am. Behind the driver's seat of a game that I know I'm going to care about, no matter how anyone feels about it, it's going to hit, because I still cry playing the first game. I still cry. Yeah. And I cried watching the TV show. I cried playing the game when we played through it. Last of Us is a beautiful, beautiful fucking thing. Which is why I'm so surprised that, like, when people are at cons and shit, and they're asked, like, what the best game is, whether it's recent or not, nary a person says Last of Us.
I know no one does.
Maybe, like, 1 out of 10.
It's a shame.
And it's a shame, because most of the answers are dog shit. Like, there isn't a single BioShock up there. There isn't a single Shadows of the Colossus up there.
Favorite game? Oh, Fortnite.
Right, Minecraft. Dark Souls. Elden Ring. You know, a game that's been around for a year.
Which, listen, is a
game that's been around for a year.
But it's not best game of all time.
If it doesn't stretch to everyone, if it doesn't affect a total population shift, then it can't be best game ever made. Elden Ring got around, but it got around to the From Software people. You didn't see the kids who play Madden and Counter-Strike and fucking Call of Duty log off of their shit, their dick-tugging contests, all to play Elden Ring. You got like 1 or 2 of those kids, but that's about it. What's your greatest game of all time? You'd say something like Chrono Trigger.
Oh, it's so hard.
You'd say something like Chrono Trigger or something. Just for the record, my answer is not Last of Us, but it would be up there. It would be up there for sure. I think I have too much of an innate connection to something like BioShock. Like, BioShock is just the perfect game to me. The music, the writing, the gameplay.
All right, what's your top 3?
I'd be hard pressed to say BioShock, then Shadow of Colossus, and then say something like Last of Us. It's hard because I got Wind Waker flying around up there. I got Wind Waker flying around up there, but I don't get emotional playing Wind Waker. That's the thing. And that's also the thing about, like, Spider-Man. Like, I could easily say, like, Spider-Man 2, as a kid, that game changed me. That game was so... It was the first sandbox game I got to play with, because I wasn't allowed to play, like, GTA and shit when I was a kid. I wasn't allowed to play that. So, the first open concept, like, sandbox video game where you can go anywhere, do anything whenever you want. That was the first experience I had doing that, was Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube. And it was life-changing.
Yeah, I feel like my number 1 would have to be Chrono Cross, but it's a hard... because 2 would be Super Metroid.
Yeah, see, you have a nostalgia factor. You have an artful classic factor. You don't fall into, like, new school gimmick. Your Last of Us is in your top 10, but it's not in your top 5.
No, I would say it's top 4. It's my 4th.
Is it?
Yeah, I'd say
Okay.
it's, but not just the first one, because I think the second one is a work of art. And I think people get too hung up on the fact that they make
the story didn't go the way they wanted it to.
and
they didn't watch how beautiful the game is.
And you're forced to play as someone you might not want to play as, but newsflash, it's a fucking story, and, like,
they can tell whatever story they want.
They want, and it's written great. Like it is written so well. It's acted so well. Voice acting.
I mean, it just
music,
looks beautiful.
Yeah.
To be a complete step up from, and even PS3 Last of Us is beautiful to play through. So for a PS4 version of Last of Us 2, I'm very excited, because not many games have been as jaw-dropping for me to play as much as, like, the God of War remake for PS4 or sequel, I mean.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man and Miles Morales on the PS4. Just jaw-dropping physics and how things look and how real things feel. And Hogwarts Legacy, that's another one. Like, just beautiful fucking game. So good to look at.
Wind Waker would be in my top 5.
I think Wind Waker would be in my top 5 too. It pains me that I didn't have a Nintendo rep in there sooner, because I used to be such a diehard Nintendo kid, but I kind of got, I grew up a little bit. I just disconnected from the kind of E for everyone,
That's a good point.
just kind of kiddie games with no stakes, I appreciate the fluff when I can get it, and I appreciate some of the more skillful gameplay, like you quoted, Metroid, Super Metroid. Like, that's it's a generally tough game to play, compared to new school shit. But yeah, I would say Nintendo doesn't really hold your hand as much in the past when I would say they were on top of their game. Because I'm not a Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild person. Like, I'm not for either of those. And it's not because they hold your hand, it's just the direction they went in.
You know, it's crazy. Like, I'm trying to say everything, and I'm like, I could give 5 to Hollow Knight, because Hollow Knight is so good, and the score is probably one of my favorites of all time. Let me tell you what, Undertale made me cry. I cried playing Undertale. That true ending.
That's fair.
Oh man, that music. I don't know.
It's a really good game. It's a really good game.
God. I just want to play games. Why am I here? What are we doing here?
I never wanted to give you the satisfaction of being like, play Undertale for me, because you whined about it for so long that I don't think I ever told you that, like, I had watched like 3 different streamers play through it already. Like, I knew everything that was going to happen.
Even the true ending?
Yeah, I had watched literally everything.
Man.
And like, didn't we, before I even play, get together just to watch the soundtrack get played live?
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, I liked the game before you even told me about it. Like, you took it so personally when I was playing through it that I just wanted to play something else, because I kind of had to be in the mood to play that, because I needed it to count.
And I didn't want you to kill anybody. And you were like, well, I want to play the game. And I'm like, well, I want you to get the true good ending, because it's the best ending.
And did I not?
I don't remember anymore.
I believe I did.
I don't think so.
I believe I did.
Okay.
No, I believe I did.
Okay. I don't remember.
I'm being serious.
And I'm... Hooker, I don't remember!
Bitch!
What's the line from iRobot? I didn't murder him!
Wow. That's a deep cut. You know what else is a deep cut?
What? You know it's a deep throat.
Richard Nixon?
You want to know how I got these scars?
Oh, god damn it.
You ever heard of a Latino meat shank?
No.
Do you remember that video on YouTube? When he's talking about when the Joker was in prison, the guy took a razor blade and he taped it to the front of his dick. You ever hear of a Latino meat shank?
That's good.
I'm gonna make this dick disappear. Ta-da! Now it's gone in your ass.
God damn it.
Whoa, how did it get there? That's 500,000. How about a lot? That's 500,000.
We're talking. I got Frowns with Boohoo here. And, we're gonna read a story, and of course...
It's Christmas!
The thing people don't know is that it's really not Christmas.
What is Christmas?
It couldn't be any further from Christmas. However...
It's Christmas!
For the sake of this episode, and when it comes out, not when we're recording it, it's Christmas.
It's a woodland critter Christmas. Hail Satan!
And I wanted a Christmas episode with Frowns McBoohoo this year because...
Don't read it, Gordon.
Yeah?
I get all the 69 episodes. And I get all the Christmas
You got all the
episodes.
69 episodes, Gordon.
You gonna give it to that son of a bitch over there? You gonna give it to Django Unchained?
No.
You gonna give it to Alley Cat Strike?
Yeah.
It's for me.
Yeah.
You can't give it to anybody.
Yeah, I got that. So there were two rules that he actually brought up in, I want to say it was like episode like 154, Mary Pasta's part 4, like halfway through doing all of this, when I had asked him if we could have someone else on the Christmas episodes, and he said, fuck no. He said 2 things. I get all the 69 episodes, and I get all the Christmas episodes. So we weren't going to pass by Christmas without doing another Christmas episode. And the benefit of doing it now means that when we next hang out during the holidays, right?
Mm-hmm.
We won't have to record because we'll already have done this.
Hell yeah.
We could just hang out next time.
Now that's working smart.
Yeah, this Christmas, I wanted to do something different because we had only done a series one other time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to it right now during my kind of re-listen of the show to kind of stay in tune with it and remember everything that happened on it, mostly. Because my memory is shot from all the dankers.
Yeah.
The Christmas hashish. The mistletoe.
Pine
over
tree.
here.
Pine,
Yeah, the pine dust I'm smoking.
The jingle bells.
Yeah, jingle bells I'm suckling. I didn't want...
Jingle bell cock.
It was one of the first episodes we did together. Mm-hmm. Because we did the first 2 together, and then we did 5 and 6 together. And that was cool. That was fun.
Do you remember the mask episode?
That was actually the other year. That wasn't one of the first years that we did it.
Why is everybody trying to get rid of me?
Uh-huh, yep.
Yeah, okay.
The aunt puts on the beauty sleep mask.
And it was an actual face, right?
No, it left horrible, horrible chemical burns on her because it was way expired. That was the twist, is that she should have read the box because the aunt who had gifted it, had re-gifted it so many times that it had expired, and the chemicals said to only wear it a certain time and before a certain date, and her face got totally fucked from it.
To anybody listening that uses, like, skincare shit, you gotta fucking throw it out, man. Like, it may look good, but,
yeah,
like...
you were the first person to tell me that soap goes bad.
Yeah, the oils come to the surface, and then
I was like, what? I thought that's why we clean ourselves with it, because it never goes bad. And you were like, nah, dude, shit gets mold. Shit gets gross. Shit gets, like, different type of dirty. And I'm like... bet. And
oils go rancid.
We had been, now at this point, by the time this episode comes out, we've been doing this show for like 9 years.
Yeah.
Because we started this in November of 2016, I believe.
Yeah, it was before I was with my partner, so...
My math is awful. That means it's only been 7 years. I was about to say it hasn't been 9 yet. It's 7. I'm high. My math is terrible.
I'm on the iron lung right now, and
Frown's had a bit of the vid, but he's feeling a lot better now, so I'm gonna make him record 3 hours worth of material.
he's got me chained up down here.
I promised him ice cream, I lured him down here, and when he went slurp slurp, I quickly went click click with the brace around his ankles.
He hobbled me.
Hobbled, cobbled, cob.
Corn on the cob. Slop on my knob.
Shut
corn
the fuck
on the
up,
cob.
I was gonna segue.
Oh, too fucking bad.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Cobweb. We just watched a movie, Cobweb.
Oh, yeah.
It was really good. I really don't want to get into it too much.
Yeah, no.
I just wanted to say that it was really good and that I recommend people watch it because everyone ignored it and totally forgot about it when it came out during Barbenheimer weekend. Don't even rent it. I'm telling you right now, it is good enough to buy. Literally just buy it on what? Apple?
Apple, yeah.
It's on Apple for purchase right now. Literally just buy it.
Also, just a plug of what I've been watching. If you have Netflix, watch a show called Heartstopper. If you're having a bad day and you just want something to smile at, go watch Heartstopper.
If you're having a bad day and you just want something to smile at.
Yeah. There are days I would come home from work ready to, like, jump out in the middle of the road, and I'm like, I'm going to put this on, and it instantly made me feel better.
If you're having a bad day and you just want something to smile at, folks, turn on YouTube and go to Lotsa at youtube.com and start going through our Let's Plays. I have a bunch of Let's Plays on there. I got Luigi's Mansion. I got A Way Out with Deputy Dewey. I got all 3 of the Dead Space games with Mr. Skellybones. And, you pay attention, you stay subscribed. You subscribe there. That's what you do.
No.
And...
Please continue.
And if you stay subscribed and you wait around for a little bit, I promise you this, Last of Us, how many episodes were there? Like 8, 9? I think there were like 8 or 9 episodes. At an hour and a half a piece? No, that's not too many. I think there were like 8 or 9 episodes. Me and Franz McBoohoo playing through Last of Us.
And, the funny thing is, we started recording it before, and a lot of the material got lost. Everything just gets lost every time we record together.
No, it didn't get lost. I deleted it.
Ah, see,
Because you promised me something, and then you moved to a different state again.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Because not always is the time management my fault.
Yeah,
not always.
Sometimes the person you're fucking ends up being a doctor.
Not yet.
Not yet. And you just gotta go around the country with them till they get their stuff together. And, yeah. And
sometimes The Last of Us becomes The Last of Me, and you're gone. So when I sit back and I look at the footage, I go, this is never gonna get finished, and I delete it. And then you come back later and you say, hey, I got a great idea, let's finish that. And I say, whoops, it's gone.
Yeah.
And you say, what do you mean it's gone? And I said, don't even worry about it. We maybe played 3 episodes worth. We maybe played like 4 hours of the game. Okay, like calm down. It's like a 12-hour game.
That material was so good.
At its most authentic and most original, yes, there were parts of it that were zingers. I do think our performance the last time around was better. I felt like I was talking more. I felt like we were doing it together. I feel like it was a more shared experience. I always ride this line with Let's Plays where I'm saying, I don't know if I want to talk a lot because I want to let the game speak for itself and I want to just show the game to people. But I also want to ride this line of, well, people are watching this because they're watching me play it, so my commentary has to be at least surface level involved. But with you on the couch next to me, everything's running the gamut at the same exact time. So
yeah, because
we got to figure it out together.
I'm
it's
like
a horse and pony race over here.
Fucking neutron star, baby. I don't burn out.
Baby, you're a firework.
You want to watch my colors work?
Make it go.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
So anyway, Christmas story, folks. Christmas story. So if I were to say Christmas episodes of Christmas Past, you would say favorite story was.
I don't know.
Because if you want to know my favorite, honestly, if you want to know my favorite, I think that same year, which was the second or third year that we had done the show. So it's somewhere in the 50s or the early 100s.
Mm-hmm.
We read a story, just a solid story from No Sleep called Christmas Land. And it's a fucked up version of Polar Express. Do you remember reading that? Kid gets like yanked up the chimney, ends up in like a giant sack in the sky, and he sees like a giant like eldritch demigod like consuming planets and shit, and it's implied to be Santa, and that we're all just waiting to get eaten one day. by a
No, I don't.
giant Cthulhu-esque
I don't
god.
And it didn't happen.
Oh, it did, and it's a fantastic fucking episode. The reason why I'm saying that one is my favorite is because I've read 2 other stories by that same author on the show, and one of them was Feed the Pig, which is one of our most popular solo episodes where I just read through the entire story. And then the other one I did on an episode with Where Am I called Porn Cogs of Field 7, I believe. And so Feed the Pig is about a guy who kills himself and what his experience of hell is like, where he imagines it as this giant experience where he ends up getting eaten by a very large pig. And he's kind of led to the slaughter that way. It's very grotesque. And then Porn Cogs is a story about a guy getting in a car accident, and for a brief second he disconnects from reality and ends up in a different one, and he imagines himself on a planet where people are corn and they're all being milled so that they can fuck and replicate and then kill themselves in a giant omniscient living furnace. So they fuck to procreate to keep the corn fuel going, but they're also sentient and they know that they're going to their death after they're done fucking. So it's like sad and scary at the same time. And the same author who wrote both of those stories wrote the Christmas Land story, which I will find to make reference of at some point. But we read a story about a kid who like gets whisked off into the sky, and you think he's going to end up in some magical, beautiful place, and he actually ends up like in a sack with a million other kids, and they're all just watching like the world get eaten by this large bearded man the size of like the sky. And it's crazy.
What? There were 2 that come to mind. One was the one where there was like the place where the good elves are, and then like the bad elves were in like a really super cold area, and they're missing.
If I remember correctly, the title of that one is Santa's Other Workshop.
And then
because he implies that for the good kids, there are good elves working on a good workshop that make the toys for all the boys and girls, and then there are bad elves in the bad workshop that make cursed items.
Yes.
And one elf makes something so cursed, I believe it's a small like diadem of like a turtle or something, or a frog. I think it was a frog, but that's what the story is about: is how this little frog has been said to have been made by one of the most cursed elves in history, and it's a fun little.
And then isn't there one where, they keep the person keeps reliving. Like, over and over. No, what was that? There was one where the tree was burning at the end. I can't remember. There's too many stories and I don't remember them anymore.
There was absolutely one where there was like something.
The dad came down the chimney and it was the chimney was lit and he died.
That's just Gremlins.
No, we've read a story.
That's just the plot of Gremlins, though. The one chick tells the story about how her dad got caught in the chimney and died. Oh. But no, you're right. We did read a story that was like that. No, the one with the tree on fire was this one where like the tree was like sprayed with chemicals and it made the parents all crazy and shit. So it ended with them setting it on fire. But the one I like is the one with the animatronic Santa Claus. You remember that one?
Oh, in the basement.
In the basement, and it just keeps getting like closer to these kids until it's eventually like strangling one of them for getting it stuck in the basement. It's like, fuck you, dude! You put me in the basement.
Now it's time to die. Timmy suck Santa's robotic cock.
And then like when they bring him back upstairs, like he gets all happy again, so he promises to not murder any of the kids.
Ho ho! Have you been a good boy this year?
I bet you have.
Fuck Santa's ass. Come here, Baldo.
Oh, come here, Baldo. I bet he's happy that he made us watch that video. With how much we reference it.
He's done podcasts for you, right?
100%.
What's his name?
Punxsutawney Trill.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good name. All right. This isn't going to take us very long, but I decided in order to maximize my boohoo time that I... Warn me next time.
Oh, woo. Oh my god, is that my name? Franz McBoo-woo.
So to maximize my boohoo time, we're going to record a two-parter. We're going to start the story on this episode and finish it on Christmas Day.
Oh.
How gay.
I'm so horny for Christmas right now. Tickle my bow.
If I remember why I got this one and why I thought it was cool to read and why I thought it would be good for this episode is because it reminded me of Stephen King's The Mist.
I love The Mist.
There's something attacking the kids.
Ooh.
And they have to
pedophiles.
They have to figure out why and then how to defend themselves, apparently. And I think that's also reminiscent of the Krampus movie. Mm-hmm. Have you seen that?
I own it.
Where the toys eat the kids and shit. I just love that. That's like a live-action version of Nightmare Before Christmas segment where all the toys start fucking with the families.
It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Also,
it's genuinely good.
By the way, I'm ready for everything you just said. I am ready for a Chris Hansen Christmas.
I'm going to need you to take a seat. And let's consult the chat logs.
You wanted to blank her blank?
You wanted to shove it up her chimney?
What did you mean by that?
She's 12 years old.
Right. You wanted her to take a sleigh ride on your...
Jingle bells?
On your jingle bells?
Jingle balls. You wanted her to deck your halls?
And then you sent her a picture of mistletoe wrapped around your member. Oh, that's not you? Santa's Little Helper 6969. Is that the name you go by on these chats?
You know what I want to do for the first time in probably a while, at least this is how it feels for me before we're time traveling to read this story for this episode.
Yeah.
I want to tell everyone to nestle in, nice and tight. You're gonna get yourself cozy with some nice hot cocoa that you just made in the microwave. You're not, that skilled that you'd make it on your own, like you work at Starbucks or something. And you're gonna sit down next to the fire, or if you're too broke to have a fireplace, just a toaster next to your bathtub. And you're gonna put on this podcast, you're gonna start listening to this part, you're gonna press play at this part right here, right now. And at the same time, you're also gonna light yourself a nice... Let yourself a little blunt ski, a little joint ski, a little green leafy.
This nice TV.
And then you're gonna smoke it.
Suck my dick and lick my crack. Now we'll all climb into Santa's sack.
Thank you so much for joining me for that.
Yeah, I thought that was nice. I was in a little bit in the background, and you're kind of like telling them what to do, you know. And
it felt natural. It felt good.
I'm glad. If you cut it, I'll kill you.
I would never. Okay. I would never.
Okay.
I'd rather kill myself.
Okay. Well, you know what? I as long as you have to do it.
People on like YouTube can't say that. They don't say that. They say to dead yourself or to. They just find any other way to say it.
I'm a warlock, so whatever you do to yourself, I'll just bring you back.
Right. Souls.
As long as I still have my packs left.
Sucking up souls.
Stomping on them.
Sucking their souls. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Souls. Every year on Christmas Eve, my parents drug us. And I found out why.
Chris Hansen is definitely going to be.
No, is that why you said that?
No.
Because you read the title? Well, the title is every year on Christmas Eve, my parents drug us. I Found Out Why. And that's an interesting title right there, wouldn't you say, Frowns? That's an interesting title.
I would
That's an interesting
say.
title because I'm drugged every Christmas by myself purposefully to get through the day without losing my collective shit.
Yeah.
And
I would say quite a few people at your Christmas table are.
hashtag lit.
Yeah.
Hashtag Christmas tree lit.
Hashtag Merry Crystal Methmas.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire.
Hashtag
Hashtag the North Star. Hashtag baby Jesus.
Hashtag big balls.
Balls.
But sleigh balls.
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
What do you think?
I know there are going to be voices, so we're going to be able to pick characters. It's like a whole it's a family affair.
I guess I could start, and we'll just go on and off. We'll just have to make sure we keep them similar.
That feel fair? I mean, yeah, we'll try our best. We'll try our best. You know, like what are you asking for here? What do we?
Listen. Well, there's a writer's strike right now. There's a writer's strike.
I didn't write
hey, there's a writer's strike. And I'm trying to be.
I'm just trying to say I didn't write this.
And I'm just trying to say, no sleep.
There's a fun person on No Sleep who wrote this story. Go there to that source to give them the credit, please. Thank us for listening. Thank us for giving you enjoyment in your life this Christmas season. But do give all credit where credit is due. And go to Reddit No Sleep and read the original story and support the original author and do whatever you want to do in case this story does rock and roll all night long.
And remember,
Susie.
The biggest gift you can give someone for the holidays is 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. And if the pink ain't available, you got 3 in the stink.
Nice.
All right. Let's get this on rolling.
Every year on Christmas Eve, my parents drug us. I found out why.
Yeah. You read that right. Maybe you even read my post last year. I was pretty panicked when I wrote it. It was... Wait, this is a No Sleep, right? Is that supposed to be serious?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
So it was short.
Let's
Just say so it was short.
So it was short, but it was real. It's pretty simple for how crazy it all sounds. Every year on Christmas, for as long as I can remember, my parents drug us with sleeping pills. Something about not being awake when Santa comes. We have a whole schedule the family keeps to. Dinner at 5. At 6, we put on our pajamas and watch that shitty movie, It's a Wonderful Life. They're a Republican family, clearly. And yeah, the PJs match. Mm-hmm. And then at 8:30, we use our last bit of eggnog to wash down the pills. It's probably not great.
That's a Republican Christmas.
Oh, yeah. They're strong. My sister's out in probably 15 minutes.
Nice.
I take a little longer, but I'm always asleep by 9. When we wake up the next morning, we're groggy, but okay. And Mom gushes about everything Santa left under the tree. But we're good. It's all bullshit. My whole life, I thought this was just what you did on Christmas. You have to be asleep when Santa comes, right? Otherwise, his magic doesn't work. So we took magic pills to make sure we'd be asleep. As a kid, it all made sense. You don't question shit like that when presents are on the line. Your parents are the law, and you don't question them either. I only started to think it was a little weird when I hit middle school. By that age, you don't believe in Santa anymore, or you shouldn't. The last holdouts get mocked, and the rest of us start talking about things like Xboxes and sneakers and flashlights and how are we gonna get them?
Yeah.
Me? I only had one question when the topic of Christmas came up. So when do you guys stop taking the magic pills? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Taking crazy pills.
That's a question that falls under the family business only clause, and I regretted it immediately. If any of them told their parents, I'll never know. In a bigger city with more oversight, someone would have or should have called the CPS. Out here, population 5,108? Yeah, I checked. Bumfuck nowhere, left of the oil field. No one gives a shit if some kids' family were drugging them for some piece on Christmas Eve. The day I asked that question, all my friends howled with laughter while I sat there beet red and trying to play it off as a joke. That was the day I knew it wasn't normal. Last year, I finally had enough. I got sick of the lies. Sick of the matching pajamas. Sick of sitting on Uncle Rod's lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Sick of playing pretend that we were having to be the perfect family Christmas. I wanted to know why my parents were drugging us. I had to know why. So when Mom handed me that little white pill, I hid it under my tongue, spat it in the toilet. Then I went to bed and pretended to be asleep. I listened until I heard Mom snoring to get up and look around. I wasn't surprised to see the tree stuffed with gifts already. Santa who? But that wasn't it. I wasn't finding any secrets. Nothing unusual or weird until I saw them. Can you imagine, like, if it's just because the dad, like, gets super fucking shit-faced on Christmas and thinks he's Santa, and, like, he just sees his kid there, and, like, he just, like, starts beating the shit out of him with the sack. Naughty boy!
We're gonna go to bed.
Yeah, he's thrown in the corner. I was reading the credit card statement, so sue me, they drug us. When I saw the movement outside, we always have a white Christmas, and by that time the street was dead quiet. So when I saw something rush by the window, it startled me. I just about opened the front door to go out and look when I saw them. Lots of them. Landing on the roofs one by one and crawling into the chimneys of every house. I don't even know how to properly describe them. Is that what PTSD does? Stops you from remembering things? Because I must have PTSD. I know I have it. I have to have it. I crouched by the couch, hiding behind the curtains and watching these giant red spidery things as they skittered across the rooftops. They'd reach a chimney and one by one hop in the air, tuck their legs into a line beneath them and shoot down the chimney. They'd be gone for a few minutes and then shoot back out, mostly with nothing, sometimes with random items or decorations. For one brief stupid second I thought that they were maybe some fucked up version of Santa's elves until I heard the most god-awful sound. That sound still haunts my every waking moment. Agonized screams of pure terror, wailing, crunching, grinding. The sound of somebody's body being forced up the chimney. Human bodies don't fit in chimneys, not like that. I watched in horror as the smith's daughter Maggie came up the chimney, pulled by two of those freaks of nature. By the time they pulled her out, she'd stopped screaming. I don't think she was alive by then. I hope she wasn't. Her body wasn't right. It was like a tube of toothpaste that had popped. I sat there shocked, watching the smith's roof turning pink before I felt the gravity of what I'd just seen bury me. Suddenly, I knew why my parents had drugged us, and I needed to get to sleep fast. I ran up the stairs, and I grabbed all the sleeping pills, and I just swung them in my mouth.
Show them.
I ran straight for the bathroom and poured out three of those little white sleeping pills, and then dove into my bed. I pulled the covers over my head and started chewing. Have you ever tried to chew pills? They're not supposed to be chewed. They taste like shit. I just about threw up twice. It didn't help that I could hear those things getting closer. You know those movies about Santa and his reindeer? About the bells and the hooves? That's them. There's no reindeer. That horrible clicking comes from them, and I knew what they did to people who weren't sleeping. Waking up Christmas Day was awkward. Everyone else woke up for the Christmas morning, and I woke up with my dad shaking me awake past noon. I could tell he wasn't impressed. But me, I was thrilled. The last time I woke up on Christmas that happy, I was like 5. After I stopped screaming, that is. It took me a few seconds to realize I wasn't being dragged up our chimney, but once I did, it was great. I threw myself on my dad like we were in a wrestling match. I ran downstairs, hugged my mother harder than I had had in years, and then threw my sister over my shoulder. She was 8, still 100% a believer, and had been sour about waiting so long to start Christmas until I tickled her into submission. Happiness is contagious, and for the first time in a while I was thrilled to see a Christmas with my family. It was awesome. Until it wasn't. We'd opened stockings and exchanged gifts and were gorging ourselves on fresh cinnamon buns and eggs Benedict when I made the mistake of glancing outside. By that point, I sort of convinced myself that I just had a crazy dream. I'd snuck off to smoke pot with one of my friends early Christmas Eve, so I figured maybe it had mixed badly with a sleeping pill. But the moment I looked outside, my eyes were drawn to the Smith's house and that pink patch on top. Suddenly, I couldn't swallow, and I drank a whole glass of milk just trying to choke down my food. It hadn't been a dream. So where were the cops? Sure, I'd gotten up late, but a kid goes missing on Christmas Eve. You'd assume that the police would be crawling the neighborhood all day.
You look a little green, bud. You okay?
I'd been staring out the window, feeling the pit of my stomach grow heavier and heavier when my dad jolted me to reality. I looked at him and nodded, trying to take another bite for show. Hey, have you seen the Smiths? I asked suddenly.
Great band.
Wondering if maybe they had just wanted to spoil the mood. I watched my parents take a sharp but quick glance at each other before he shook his head and smiled.
Not yet. I'll let you know if I see Maggie outside, though.
He teased with a wink, grabbing my shoulder and giving it a squeeze as he left the table and dabbed.
Hell yeah.
Ooh, squeeze.
That's what the kids do.
Yeah. I'm a cool dad.
I'm one of those cool dads. I fuck.
I fuck my kids.
Whoa,
Why don't you take a seat?
whoa, Republican.
Right. Mom gave me a kind of smile and poured me another glass of milk. I probably sat there for another hour before I finally gave up and went to help my sister set up her new dollhouse. I needed a distraction. When the winter break ended, I was back at school, expecting to see an uproar that never came. Freshman year of high school, a kid had gotten into a car accident and the entire student body held a vigil for him. There was a memorial in the auditorium, meetings after school to light candles, and the school even brought in a couple therapists. Nobody said or did anything like that for Maggie. It was like everybody just kind of forgot she existed. And it was strange. Hell, even the local newspaper seemed to skip it. And they had absolutely nothing to report on most days. It took until mid-January before I spotted a tiny obituary tucked in the corner of a back page, and I saved it, stuffing it in a notebook at home for safekeeping. It almost felt like if I didn't remember that she died, no one would.
A little bit of that Christmas magic.
A little bit of that Christmas.
A little bit of that.
Yeah, that Christmas snow. Honestly, the whole incident took a toll. March came and went, and so did my birthday. I was 17 now, supposed to be focusing on planning for college, but all I could think about was Christmas. I could barely sleep. Every night I'd go to bed and lay there staring at the ceiling, jumping at every little snap or crack. Every morning I'd wake up with darker bags under my eyes than the day before. I couldn't focus in school. My grades dropped. My parents started asking about drugs. By the end of October, I'd had no less than 8 visits to the student counselor, who kept gently asking me if things were okay at home. But what could I say? No, Miss Andrews, I saw Christmas spiders pull out a girl on chimney, and it makes math hard to do, right? And I couldn't tell anyone at school. How do you talk about shit like this? I sounded crazy in middle school when I tried to ask my friends about being drugged on Christmas Eve. I'd definitely get locked up if I talked about giant red spiders taking people in the night. But I was losing my mind. We'd had Thanksgiving. Halloween was coming around. What?
I think you mixed them up.
We'd had Halloween. Thanksgiving was coming around, and it got colder. And the colder it got, the more anxious I got. The stores were already running clearance on costumes and jack-o'-lanterns to make room for ornaments. The first signs of Christmas were already seeping in, and I was absolutely, without a doubt, terrified for my life. That's when my friends called to hang out. It might sound stupid, but my friends and I have a code we use when things are bad and we need to talk. We definitely drifted apart in high school. None of us really hung out that much together anymore, but none of us had ever backed out when someone said they needed to smoke.
Needed to smoke.
Are you smoking yet?
Are you ready, kids?
I was exhausted, but I figured the worst I'd get was some weed out of it. Besides, when the bat signal goes up, you gotta answer.
Right. Roll it right or don't roll it at all, man.
Ella complained, watching Greg scowl while trying to ready a joint. We were huddled in the woods behind the school, freezing our asses off in the early cold snap. Max groaned and snatched everything away from him, making quick work of it and then lighting up.
Christ, finally, okay.
He breathed out smoke with a sigh before passing the joint to the left.
So it's been one hell of a year, right?
Max was always the type for speeches. I sat there, shivering and waiting for my share, staring at the ground.
We haven't had much time to, hang out, and even though I've been busy, you guys are still my best friends. Even one day when I go off to Hollywood and become famous, I will always love all of you.
There were groans all around, and Max waved this off, coughing a little and laughing.
So, that love is why I called us together. I think we all know why we're here. Hayden?
He paused as Ella finally passed me the joint.
This is like an intervention.
I didn't even get to smoke before I choked and coughed from surprise.
We're really worried about you.
Ella added gently, putting a hand on my arm. Don't be, I mumbled, taking a drag. I glanced back at the school. I'd been fired from my job, so my car wasn't insured. I'd gotten a ride there with Max. If I wanted to leave, I'd have to walk home, and it was too cold for that.
Come on, talk to us, bro. You've just disappeared. We never see you. We're worried.
Don't be.
People think you're gonna shoot up the school. God, I thought we all agreed not to tell him that.
Ella squeaked, covering her face as Greg shrugged.
Someone has to.
You guys suck. I stood up to leave. Oh, sorry. No, that's you. You guys suck. I stood up to leave. I was already stressed and running on no sleep. Now I was fucking embarrassed, too. People thought I was going to shoot up the school. Did my friends think that? I didn't even like killing bugs.
Stop. Just stop.
Max grabbed my arm and pulled me back down, passing me the joint.
Just relax. Come on. We're your friends. When Ella's parents divorced, what did we do? We smoked and we talked. Greg's dog died. We smoked and we talked. You're not the Hayden we know. So talk to us.
I sat on a stump, fidgeting and staring at the ground until I was high enough to be brave enough to try and tell them the truth. What did I have to lose? They thought I was being crazy anyway. You guys remember in middle school when I talked about those magic pills?
The Santa pills?
She asked slowly, squinting at me.
I mean, yeah, I guess. What about it?
They weren't magic pills. They were sleeping pills. Ever since I can remember, my parents, they had me drugged. They have drugged me and my sister on Christmas Eve. I thought it was normal. They told me they were magic pills to make sure we were all asleep so that Santa... I stopped and groaned, rubbing my face and trying not to wuss out. So that Santa would come, because he doesn't come when you're awake. I saw Greg clamp a hand over his mouth and his shoulders from shaking. Ella shot him a dirty look and elbowed him hard and then smiled at me. Fuck, this was stupid, never mind.
No, it's not. Keep going. Come on, we want to hear. I
took a deep breath in and closed my eyes. I hated closing my eyes. If If I closed my eyes and thought about it, I could see it all happening again. I could hear Maggie's screams again. Last year, I didn't take mine. I wanted to see what happens, what they're hiding, and I saw these things. They climb all... I got it. They climb all over the houses. They go down people's chimneys, and they take people who aren't sleeping. You guys remember Maggie? That's how she died. I saw them take her. I heard her screams. Is all I can think about. I didn't realize it, but by the end of the story, I was crying. A dam had broken somewhere inside me. I scrubbed my tears away with my sleeve. I could see Greg had stopped laughing, but I couldn't look at any of their faces. I was too embarrassed. I sounded nuts. All I could do was examine the bucket we'd flipped over to use as a table. It was old, from Rona.
Rona.
Beat up. It was cracked. It was...
They never found her body.
Max said with a strained voice.
I know Maggie's brother, not well, but we talked. He said they were all sleeping. No one heard anything. They never found the body. They moved last summer.
What? How'd I miss that? I spent way more time than I should have staring at their house. I should have noticed.
Yeah, in August, he DM'd me and he said that they were moving, and that was it. We all sat there in shocked silence for a little bit until Ella piped up. So how do you know your parents drug you?
She asked with a frown.
Those magic pills could be candy or something, and it's just that placebo effect thing happening to you?
I saw the prescription bottle. Besides, you feel weird the next day.
Feel weird how? Fuzzy?
We all turned to Greg. He'd largely been silent.
Oh, I need to change the voice. I feel weird how? Fuzzy?
We all turned to Greg. He'd largely been silent, but now he looked nervous, passing the joint without taking a puff.
I'm good on that shit.
We were all done, actually, silently, but unanimously voting to put it out. You wake up groggy. You know when you get woken up in the middle of the night like that, but it's a morning. And you just sleep through the night. I've never been woken up on Christmas Eve, ever. The more I talked, the more both he and Ella looked alarmed. Do your parents drug you too?
No.
Ella barked, almost sounding offended. Bark.
No, I mean, I don't think so. Grandma makes us this tea, though, every Christmas Eve. It's supposed to calm us down, so we sleep well.
As she described it, she scrunched her face up and tugged on her ponytail.
Fuck, they're drugging us too.
Greg looked downright sick. He didn't say it, but from the look on his face, he'd been sleeping way too well on Christmas Eve, too.
Yeah, sleeping way too fucking well. I take Ambien, so...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Roseanne Barr is his mom.
I got crazy, but, they don't really need to drug me or anything.
Max said with a shrug. By now, Ella was pacing.
Okay, so they're drugging us, but why? I mean, listen, I believe you saw what you saw, but couldn't have been a hallucination. Why isn't this widespread news?
You mean news like Maggie disappearing? I asked. I live right across the street, and the cops didn't even show up. No one cared that Maggie died. No one talked about it. No wonder they moved. We all just pretended like she didn't exist. The shamed silence that followed stretched out until Greg's phone buzzed and he announced that he had to go to work.
Gotta go pay the bills, you know what I'm saying? Gotta get these hoes.
Boomhauer. Ella did too. They both worked at the same fast food place. They gave us a half-hearted goodbye. I was exhausted, completely emotionally drained after spilling my guts, and Max offered to drive me home soon after the others left. It was a silent ride. He seemed deep in thought, and I was so tired I didn't even want to try to talk. Didn't matter. I told them they could think I was crazy all they wanted.
But now that they know, isn't it more of a warning? Like, definitely drink your fucking tea this year. Like, please don't stay awake or you'll get got.
I would, like, try to talk to my parents at this point. Like,
well, the parents knew something already. You could
well,
tell.
yeah, because they're drugging. I just wonder if, like, I don't know. I feel like you should talk to your parents at this point. Like, I fucking know. Like, you know, the cat's out of the bag. We all know. My friends know. I found money on the counter for pizza at home. I put in a Domino's order before finding something to watch. The entire time I sat there, all I could think about was Maggie. And how she just disappeared from our little town the moment she was snatched. It was like those things had just wiped her off the map and everyone let it happen. I remember the obituary halfway through dinner and ran upstairs to dig it out of the notebook I put it in. It wasn't long, that's for sure. Her family had barely put in any description at all. Like all obituaries, they had put down the date of her death. I started searching. Our town was small and rural, but we did have a newspaper, and it had managed to get a grant a few years ago to make a website and start digitalizing everything. That meant that they had decades worth of obituaries to look through.
I started to search for any deaths around Christmas. Deaths in December weren't unusual, even in a small town. Between icy roads causing grandma
You
to
try
fall,
that in a small town.
or depression taking lives, death was expected at Christmas. But when I started to dig through the results, I noticed a serious difference between the Nana eats shit deaths and the ones that happened right on Christmas itself.
Not Nana.
They were all short, with few details, and all were published weeks after the event. There were never any funerals or memorial services to be had, no options to send flowers somewhere. It seemed like every year at least one person died under strange circumstances at Christmas, and just became invisible. I made a list of the last few deaths and started searching for their families, just like the Smiths. Most of the families had moved away after the death. I scoured social media pages for more clues. No one that had left seemed to keep ties with anyone in our little town. In fact, many of the families hadn't been in the town long before the death had happened. If I thought about the Smiths, they only had a few months here before last Christmas. It wasn't uncommon for families to move here for the oil opportunities, make some money, and then leave when they realized there wasn't much to do. It wouldn't have looked unusual if you didn't know that someone had died. I sat back, shoveling in the last couple slices of cold pizza. Why haven't I looked this up before? I'd spent most of 2022 trying to forget what I'd seen, but I'd been too scared to let it go. All I could think of was Christmas, and what I knew would happen when I was asleep. I'd nearly failed out of school. I lost my job. Okay, it was a shitty one, but still. I was this close to losing any opportunities for a good college, but worse than that, I was probably the only person who had seen what comes on Christmas Eve and lived to talk about it. And it's not Uncle Ronnie. That gave me a responsibility, right? I knew what they looked like and what they did, and now I knew that this had been going on for years. My parents had been drugging me since I was born, so they must have known it. They grew up here. They had to know. The Smiths had only been in town for a few months. Maybe nobody warned them. Maybe they just went to bed like normal, never knowing the risks. Shit. Why had no one told them? I pulled out my phone, texting Max. I needed him to hook me up with Maggie's brother. I needed to know what happened after she died. Then I messaged everyone on Facebook in one big group chat, and there were some families that had lived for generations and had still people die randomly on Christmas. I had the perfect idea of how to contact them. We were going to trick-or-treat this year. Trying to talk to Maggie's brother had been a waste of time. I wasn't totally shocked, but I was disappointed. I thought he was actually going to talk to me at first, and it was going fine, even after mentioning how crazy it was that no one talked about his sister's death, when suddenly he stopped replying and blocked me. Blocked me on Insta, blocked me on Facebook, and when I tried calling his cell, I got that annoying number not in service robot voice. After that happened, I filled my friends in on why we were going trick-or-treating. It wasn't exactly a popular request, but everyone seemed to agree that it was out of pure loyalty. Normally at 17, you went to a party, you got drunk. Mostly people didn't really love handing out candy to teenagers. This year, we'd hit the streets. Someone's gonna call the cops on us. My dad will kill me if he finds out about this. Greg looked paranoid as usual. I couldn't blame him. His parents were super religious and thought costumes were, honestly, I don't know. They just thought it was wrong. We'd have to keep a cape and plastic fangs for him at Max's house when we got ready. We each opted for something quick and easy. Greg was a vampire, Ella was a witch, Max put on a cowboy hat, and I dressed like a ghost. They weren't good costumes, but they were costumes.
How'd you convince your parents to let you come out with us tonight anyways?
He held up a plastic bag filled with religious pamphlets. I said I was called to spread the word, so what's the plan?
We hit a few houses and try to get some candy, so we look legit. And then when we get to the houses on my list...
I answered, pulling out a list and a map where I'd marked everyone down. And you're just going to what? Ask them about their murdered family member, What if there's kids?
I plan on showing them these.
I pulled out my dick. I pulled out a piece of lined paper with a drawing of one of the creatures, and they all stared at it. Don't like spiders have like 8 legs? That's only 4. I rolled my eyes and put it back in my bag.
I said spidery. They're not actual spiders.
Okay, Picasso, Ella laughed as we headed off into the night.
You guys fucking suck.
We got turned away from a few houses, but people were surprisingly generous most of the time. We got a couple glad to see teenagers doing something wholesome comments, and it didn't take us long to get into it. It was nice. Trick-or-treating with my friends brought back a lot of memories and good feelings. Every time we stopped to compare notes on our haul, it felt like we were kids again, and it gave me a glimmer of hope before we hit the first targeted house. We waited on the street for the big group of kids to get their candy and hustle on before stepping up to the plate and ringing the bell.
Trick-or-treat!
Trick-or-treat! The door swung open and we all smiled like fools. The woman inside, a lady that looked to be in her 50s, gave us a confused smile back and grabbed her candy bowl. I held up my art the moment the peanut butter cups hit the pillowcase.
Do you recognize this?
I asked. She paused, looked over my shitty drawing, and then shook her head.
No, I don't. But it's very nice. You kids have a good Halloween.
I didn't even have time to react. The next group of kids were already pushing us out, and so we walked back to the street.
Okay, that didn't work.
I sighed, opening up a snack-sized bag of chips. Do we believe her? Ella asked, doing the same. We all started walking and eating the salt, cutting the handfuls of candy we'd already stuffed ourselves with.
Yeah, I don't think she's seen them. She didn't even blink.
So maybe you gotta go harder next time. If no one's seen those things, it won't mean a thing to them. Ask them about the deaths.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna go hard.
So I did. The next house was polite as could be considering the question. The house after slammed the door in our faces. The house after that actually took their candy back before rattling the door on its hinges. It's going pretty terrible, honestly.
No pumpkins. The porch light is a bummer.
It was getting late, and we'd agreed to go to Max's house for curfew to watch movies. I'd only marked off a plan for 10 houses, and we reached our limit. The last house was a dead end.
Anyone have a pen?
I asked, suddenly a last-ditch idea come to mind. Greg dug through his pamphlet bag and gave me one, and I crouched on the sidewalk to write a quick note on the back of the drawing. I left my phone number and explanation and slipped it through the rusty old mail slot on the door. It was old, loud, and nearly bit my fingers off trying to get the paper through. And once I saw it disappear, we started to leave. We got nearly a house away before a hoarse yell stopped us. Looking back, a woman that had to be at least in her 80s was waving for us to come from the place we'd just been.
Oh, get over here.
Well, legibly.
Oh, get over here.
That's definitely better. She squawked, the paper clutched in her hand.
Squawk.
We all froze, sharing nervous glances. I guess some part of me didn't really believe anyone would recognize it. If no one recognized it, then the issue would be moot. I could say that I'd done what I could and just start therapy to deal with what I saw. Instead, we all made our way back, meeting the woman on her stoop.
Get inside. It's cold out.
She ordered, stepping aside and motioning us through.
Shoes off. Sit down.
What looked like no lights. Emperor Palpatine, he's back. What looked like no lights on from the outside was actually the thickest blackout curtain I'd ever seen. Every window we could see was completely covered, barred. When she shut the door, she locked it, and braced it with a chair. Not that I think it really mattered. The thing looked like an industrial security door from the inside. What really stood out to me, though, and what I couldn't stop staring at, was her fireplace. I just It didn't really exist anymore. She filled the bottom with cement, gated it, and wrapped the gate with barbed wire.
So, you've all been awake on Christmas Eve, it seems. Must have been quite the fright. When?
I was in shock. She sat comfortably on a recliner just across from us, shotgun stuffed in what looked like a magazine holder.
Well, last year.
I stuttered out. She nodded, looking over the drawing carefully.
I had to know why they gave us the pills. Pills? Goodness, that's ripe for trouble. Back in my day, you got an infusion.
Oh, shit.
Or let your dad sneak you some alcohol. Anything to hide it. I guess your parents bought into the never lie to your kids crap the magazine started shilling.
She clucked her tongue, tucking the piece of paper into her pocket.
Into her mouth.
It's safest in here.
Tastes good. Look where it got them.
Look where it got them. Do you know?
I shook my head quickly. I don't think they knew.
Humph. Well, you're lucky. There's not a lot of lucky ones that see the creatures and live to talk about it. Most anyone who does gets their death. Up the chimney.
I practically whispered. Her face
Up the chimney.
Her face softened.
Poor kid. You must live near that girl that died. There was just one last year, I believe. I'm sorry, dear. That's just something that no one should ever see.
Beside me, Greg, Max, Ella had all sunken into ourselves. Ella looked like she might throw up at any second. So it's real? She asked, pulling off her fake nose. They're real. The woman gave a solemn nod. She gave us a thin-lipped smile before getting up, returning moments later with a box of papers.
You probably already know this, but my name is Rosalie Walsh. Rosie for short. Or, if you're friendly.
All right.
Shut up.
Okay.
Just cut it.
Let's keep this moving.
It's hot.
I know. I know.
Okay.
My family's lived here for generations now. My sister, God rest her soul, was the most recent member of my family to die in that awful way. She'd been on a new medication. Didn't realize it was basically amphetamine. Methamphetamines. By the time she realized she wasn't getting to sleep, there wasn't anything she could do about it. Told me as much in the letter she left. There's an empty grave in her name at the cemetery. There's a lot of empty graves. Empty urns. Lots of families in this town never get to bury their loved ones.
She dug through the box and pulled out an album of family photos. There were several photos with red dots next to them, and I realized that they were people that had been taken.
So, you never find the bodies? No. And having seen it happen myself, I guess it's as much a blessing as a curse.
Where do the bodies go? Asked Max, twisting and turning the book, flipping pages and frowning at the growing list of red dots.
Don't know. Lots of rumor and conjecture on that one. Some folks say they're eaten.
They are spiders.
Bathroom's down the hall and to the left, kid.
She pointed at Greg, who was green by then, and he gratefully ran off through the house.
Like I said, some folks think they get eaten. Other folks think they're taken somewhere.
Christmasland.
Some of the more airy-fairy fools.
Are we calling people gay now?
I think she's just saying people who, believe in the supernatural. She doesn't think there's anything, supernatural about it. She probably just thinks it's evil.
Some of the more airy-fairy fools.
She's calling you
it's not a nice word. I don't like this woman anymore. She's definitely
Any very
Republican.
fanciful fuck.
Think that they're taken to some sort of fantasy land.
I'm not talking Disney World.
I'm not talking Fire Island. The real Santa's workshop. That they're all there living in bliss. I think if they'd seen what a person looks like after going up the chimney, there wouldn't be any magical thinking left.
So what are they? She sighed, leaning back in her chair.
Look through here.
She ordered, passing me the box and kicking the reclined function into gear.
I'm no expert. Not a history major or archaeological anything.
Archaeology.
Anything. I went to school for accounting. But I was your age when I took an interest in it. Woke up at the wrong time. Guess my father didn't put enough whiskey in my drink that night. Instead of waking up Christmas morning, I woke up close to midnight. Heard the whoos. Could have sworn the bells. Could have sworn I've heard bells.
The bells.
The bells.
The bells.
The sound of ornament, oriental clinking on the tree.
Ching, ching, chong, ching.
Okay.
I am a
We'll have to
ninja.
cut that out.
The sound of ornaments clinking on the tree. It doesn't matter how old you are if you think you hear Santa on Christmas Eve. You get up to look. So I did. Crept out real slow, real quiet. I got just to the edge of the living room when I saw them. Those nasty things. Disgusting creatures. They had my little brother. And they...
She paused, taking in a sharp breath and resting her fingers on her face. A little shake to her voice.
God, 60 years and it still gets me. They put him up the chimney. A couple go up to the top, hold on to the head. The other shoved from the bottom. He was awake. He screamed, Lord, he screamed.
Finally, she just waved her hand a little, as if trying to wave away the memory, her eyes wet.
Couldn't do nothing. I was too scared. I went back to bed, hid under the covers, but it was fine. Once they get awake and they leave, they got what they came for. I didn't sleep for years. Still don't. Not really.
While she talked, Ella and I rifled through the box. There were dates, times, letters written from strangers describing what they'd seen. There were drawings, too, much better than mine, but all displaying something similar. The collection went back through the years.
What's this?
I asked, holding up a photo of a roof. It looked like someone made a mistake taking the photo. All you saw was a snowy roof and these strange white smears.
That's how they show up on camera. The only reason we know what they look like is eyewitness accounts. Even video doesn't capture them. They end up looking like glitter. They're fucking Twilight.
They're Twilight vampires. She heaved a big sigh. What's the song that you like?
There's a possibility. I wish Jacob Black would come up on my roof.
Yeah, I bet
come
you do.
down my chimney.
I
and
bet
then
you do.
Come in my house.
Yup, you
Come
said it a
in,
bunch.
come on
She
me.
heaved a big sigh like I just heaved a big sigh. Eyes on the ceiling. Eyes on the ceiling. Face looking suddenly more gaunt and drawn than when we'd first seen her.
They always come in threes.
Just like Jacob Black.
I wish.
Never seen a house without 3 Jacob Blacks. They always come down the chimney. First, they take the first waker they come across, 1 per house. Only 1 per house. Then they leave onto the next, and so on until every house has been hit.
Can't we just, like, close up the chimneys? Max pointed to the cement job she'd done on hers. Won't that just, like, solve everything? What about apartments?
You ever seen an apartment in this town, kid?
She asked, eyeing him carefully. We all paused, taking a moment to think.
There's an ordinance here. This town has strict rules about what can be built. No apartments. Most you'll see is a duplex, all with fireplaces.
She was right. There wasn't an apartment anywhere within the boundaries of town. Even double-story houses were weird. If someone built something other than the usual flat, single-story home, you could guarantee the neighbors would gossip. It would be too flashy.
Every family handles it differently. My parents told us after my brother went missing. Felt it wasn't fair, we didn't know after that. Some folks don't tell their kids until it's time for them to move out. They figure they want to preserve what innocence they have. Not everybody handles it well when they find out. My eldest John had a fire in his belly and didn't believe us. Said we just wanted to keep him home. That was a hard Christmas. My husband and I had the kids help clean the roof after. Did it hurt them? Sure did. But they believed after that. They're all still alive.
At some point, Greg returned and then left again at the mention of cleaning the roof. The rest of us sat there in numb silence as Rosie talked. Finally, the memories seemed to take their toll on her.
Time's up, kids. Halloween is over,
she announced, straightening up and taking the box back.
The best I can suggest is that you take those pills. Take enough, sleep through. Try and pretend you don't know what you know.
She cleared her throat and held out her hand.
Ices.
We all stood there like deer in the headlights before someone snapped out of it and dropped a couple candies in her hand. Honestly, it seemed fair. We all paid our toll, and she walked us out the door.
Here. One last treat. I don't know what they are, but I know they aren't anything holy.
She dropped a thick notebook in my pillowcase and patted me on the shoulder, then gently shoved us out the door and slammed it behind us. We barely made curfew that night, not that it mattered. Max's parents were pretty lax and his eldest sister was still out partying by the time we got back to his house. Someone voted to order pizza, someone else voted to put a movie on. We ended up settling on watching The Little Mermaid. Laugh all you want, but it was the only thing we could all agree on. Not one of us wanted to watch anything scary after hearing what Rosie had to say. After that, we didn't talk for a couple weeks at all. It was like we all silently but mutually agreed that we couldn't be around each other after we learned the truth about Christmas in our little town. I couldn't even open the book that Rosie gave me. I hid it under my bed, gave my candy to Sarah, and stopped all my research. I didn't want to even think about it. And for the first time since Christmas last year, I managed to sleep. Until a couple weeks ago. That was when Ella called me. Someone new had moved into town at the start of December. A family with 3 kids. They live a couple doors down from her, and she'd been watching them like a hawk. She wanted to see what the neighbors would do. Normally, the welcoming committee came by with some sort of shitty gift basket and a cheap plastic key to the city, but there was no one. Not even a nosy old lady that lived across the street to stop by. I think they're sacrificing them, she said once we had all gotten together on those ice-cold stumps behind the school for a smoke. That's why the cops don't come. That's why the newspapers don't run any stories. That's why no one fucking talks about our town after they leave. If everyone that's ever lived here all their lives knows that you have to stay asleep, there's no one to take. So they need new people to come. They need new people for the spiders to take. So we've been prepping, researching, making plans. Maybe we're crazy, but something about watching the entire town just hang these people out to dry, knowing what's going to come, makes us all sick. We're all graduating soon and we all plan on leaving, but we're not letting this happen again this year without a fight. Someone has to do something. There has to be some revenge for people like Rosie, for people like Maggie. It's Christmas Eve. Everything is in place, and now we're just waiting. Everyone's at home. My parents are making cookies. Ella's helping her family make a gingerbread house. We're all doing something. Just waiting for everyone to go to sleep. Wish us luck. I think they're sacrificing them, she said once we had all gotten together on those ice-cold stumps. So what do we do? That was the question, right? What do we do? Honestly, I wish I would have posted it here earlier, right around when we started to talk about doing something about this. Would have been helpful and saved some of the suffering you guys are about to see, but I'm a slow writer, and by Christmas Eve it felt like I was staring down the barrel of a gun. I didn't even know if I'd make it out alive, and it felt like someone had to know what was going on outside of our little town before we walked into hell. Mostly it was just nice to get some support outside, to know that we weren't crazy, that what's going on is as fucked up as we think it is. And yeah, I still think It's a Wonderful Life is a shit movie. I'm sorry. I'm doubling down on that. When you spend your whole life using it as a marker for pills are next, it starts to lose its charm. Ella thinks I'm a shithead too for saying it sucks, if that's any consolation. Some of you guys here are wondering about Thanksgiving in October. I live in Canada. It's a different holiday here. I have cousins in Detroit that hype American Thanksgiving like some kind of crazy event. I think I'm going to join them.
So what do? We can't just let it happen to them.
I can tell you the moment Ella started talking about it, we all groaned and shut down. Not the Christmas spiders again, moaned Greg. Frankly, none of us were really into talking about the Christmas spiders again. Not after Halloween, certainly not while stoned. Max just heaved a sigh and put the freshly rolled joint back in his little stash case. He closed it, patted it, and sat back. I zipped up my coat even tighter. Ella, meanwhile, was fuming. "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I ruining your pretend world of cheer? The town is sacrificing people on Christmas." I cringed, glancing over at Max, who quickly shook his head and dipped his chin. Ella was fired up. She got this way anytime she found a cause to roar about. Last year it was overseas dog adoption. The year before that was her rally cry against GMO farming. It went all the way back to the 4th grade in her science fair project on microplastics. To be fair, I don't think she'd ever actually been really wrong in the past. All the topics were worth talking about. She just terrifies us in the process. In 2 weeks, we all go to sleep and have a nice Christmas while the Millers get dragged out of bed by four-legged freaks, and you're all just okay with it?
Of course not.
There were objections all around until we heard Greg mumbling. Ella towered over him while he focused on his gloves. "Well, I just said it's all just devil worship anyway," he mumbled a little louder after clearing his throat. "That's what my parents said."
Oh, hell no. You told your parents?
Now it was my turn to be worked up. If we hadn't all known him since kindergarten, I think we would have strung him up by the power lines from his 2 shoes. Rule number 1, you don't tell your parents. Rule number 2, you don't tell Greg's weirdo religious freak parents. "They found my candy, okay? I was pissed." Apparently, shortly after Halloween, Greg's mother had been going through his room when a fun-sized candy wrapper triggered an all-out scrub of the premises. She found a bag of pamphlets, still full, and worse than that, found the rest of the candy haul. In the massive argument that followed, Greg had thrown out the only weapon he had, that they had drugged him on Christmas Eve. They didn't talk for days. His parents prayed, and he relished in the silence until they came with Bibles in hand and sat him down for a reckoning. The town was evil, we were all devil worshippers, and they did what they had to in order to keep the family safe. "Why don't they, just move, then?" Max asked after Greg rambled out their speech about straying from God. "They don't have to live here." "I asked them to. They didn't really answer. We're not doing Christmas this year, though. It's too pagan." "Serves you right," Ella scoffed, taking her stump again. "Jackass." "Whatever. I'm not supposed to hang out with you guys anyway." Greg got up and stomped off. We're all upset. So much so that Greg left, so did the rest of us. The impromptu meeting on the Christmas spiders died before it really got off the ground. The comments about devil worship, though, that stuck with me. I went home and went straight for my room, grabbing Rosie's notebook I'd hidden away. I hadn't looked through it yet. I hadn't wanted to. Finding out the truth hadn't been so exhausting that I was pretty game to just take the magic pill and pretend I had no idea we did it and just go to sleep on Christmas Eve as usual. Then I could move away next year and never come back. Unfortunately, Ella had a point. There was something totally fucked up about the way our town handled Christmas. Now that we knew and could practically see them serving this new family up on a plate, it felt gross. It wasn't just scary, it was fundamentally morally wrong. Before Rosie gave me the notebook, she'd made a comment that spiders weren't anything holy, and thinking about what Greg's parents had said, I started to wonder. The town we live in is basically an old mining community. We had a whole shitty wannabe museum dedicated to the town's history. I'd been there dozens of times on school field trips. Some random guy back in the day staked his claim in the woods, and wouldn't you know it, found a mine nearby with a nice rich deposit of coal. There were coal seams out the ass. He got wealthy, built the town. Decades later, oil drills started coming into the area. That's who provides half of the jobs here, the oil company. People definitely don't leave this place because there's no money in the area. For the first time, I started to think that it was maybe weird how financially well off the town is. We don't even have homeless people. That's strange, right? I thought about my parents. My mom is a florist. My dad repairs radios. When my sister was born, they both took like a year off of work. I spent enough time on Reddit to know that that's not normal. I thought about my friend Max. He's into music. He's 17 and probably has like $10,000 worth of music equipment. He's got turntables, amps, guitars, everything, but he lives with his retired grandparents. Everyone in Ella's family plays sports, lots of sports. They travel for games and have the best of everything. All our school teams have the best of everything. Greg's parents, too. They have multiple cars and the fanciest yard in the city. It's no wonder they refuse to move. They could judge the town all they wanted, but they were living off the sins just the same. I looked at my iPhone, my MacBook, the consoles in the corner, my widescreen TV, and a closet full of Nikes. With shame, it dawned on me that this wasn't normal. I finally took a deep breath and cracked open the cover of Rosie's notebook. I did a quick flip through and then started at the top. You could tell she taped it, rebound the thing multiple times over the years. Photos, drawings, newspaper snippets, and pages from other books had been stapled, taped, and glued anywhere they fit. Amidst all that were her notes, scrawling loops of annotations in corners, and what looked like pages of a diary. Her diary. The diary she kept while she tried to discover the town's horrible holiday secret. And that is the end of part 1. I actually really fucking like it.
Yeah.
I actually really fucking like it. And I think it's something about the pacing. The pacing feels like an old 80s movie. It feels like a Goonies. It feels like a Gremlins. You know, like it paces itself so well. It did the whole where kids were just hanging out, we're just smoking weed thing, and then it rolled straight into the Harbinger, you know, the stereotype of every horror movie where the character fills them in on some dark shit that's going on right under their noses that kind of turns the whole thing upside down. And like Rosie is just the perfect character for a narrative like this. You get in like a Jamie Lee Curtis, like legacy actress into a franchise, and you get her to spout some bullshit about what happened 40, 60 years ago. That shit sells.
Yeah.
You know, that's a solid horror movie right there. And I'm not gonna say that the spiders are the coolest thing I've ever heard. They're definitely not. I think whoever wrote this story is just an arachnophobe. I don't understand what spiders have anything to do with Christmas, but there are worse things you could have picked. I would have probably had appropriated it with some type of little fey creature of some kind, and maybe heavily allude to the fact that it's like Santa's elves or some shit. I just feel like that's more thematically interesting to me, like little fey creatures.
There's a creature in the MTG universe that came to mind, and I'm envisioning.
What's it called?
I think it's called like a glitter fey or something like that. It almost looks like, or a glitter something, and it like has. Because what I'm envisioning is like not a spider, but like. For some reason, I'm thinking of like something with like a lot of limbs and just like almost like like a house centipede almost, like very slim and tall and red and black.
But those
with
things
lots
don't like
of
jump. That's the thing.
But
Those things just crawl.
spidery, not
No,
spiders.
that's fair. I just think like they very specifically said only 4 legs. Imagine a small body just on human-y limbs, just with points, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to need more descriptors, and I feel like part 2 is going to give us more descriptors. I feel like this is someone who said, wow, this was really interesting. This took off in the right direction. I'm glad people like this, but where do I go from here?
Yeah.
And that's a little worrisome. That can be a little cumbersome to carry through the rest of the narrative, but luckily for us, this was maybe your Christmas Eve episode.
Oh, Christmas Eve.
If you want it to be. But we're gonna finish this story on Christmas Day, so come back and listen to the Christmas episode that we're gonna release on Christmas on the 25th of December, where we are going to finish this story for you, and we will see if there is a solid resolve. We're probably just going to like jump into it and roll through it real quick, so it's going to be a little bit better, a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, but I think we're going to finish it up, and I like it. It has promise. It's interesting. The monsters are cool enough. I mean, I don't love spiders. I'm not trying to say that like spiders are like the coolest fucking thing in the world and that they're never scary at all. Like, I don't like spiders. But
they could almost be like Black Widows-esque too, like with the pointed.
Well, it's just interesting to think about. Like, they're not picked up on video, they're not picked up on photo. They appear as glittery forms, and he just said they're red jumping creatures that crawl down your chimneys. I think spider is just the best way to think about it, probably from how they move. But I think we might get a description of like what their faces look like, what their bodies look like, what their limbs are more specifically like. Like right now I just see like a weird anthropomorphic red thing, you know. It's not great. It doesn't sound scary at all, but I suppose if I were a kid and I'd be dragged up the chimney by one, it would have to be the size of probably like a large dog, right? If three of them come in at a time, then they're small enough to get down a chimney, which means they're as small as a dog, right? You know, you could probably get some type of large cat through a chimney. So a spider the size of like a fucking medium-sized dog, that's pretty scary. I still think, maybe I'm just thinking as an adult, but I'd still probably just kick it.
It could also just be, again, something very thin and very, like, you know...
Well, let's say spiders are super strong, so maybe accounting for how they work. Or if there's magic, anything supernatural behind them, you know, there might be something...
Yeah.
There might be something going on there. Yeah, unholy, because...
Emphasis on
because
the word.
you know...
Hole.
You know holes.
I'm tired of the holes, Grandpa.
What's too damn bad?
You keep sucking.
Dig it up, dig.
But yeah, this is Browns, and this is Captain.
Dig it up,
we're gonna be here with our Jingle Balls.
You got to go dig those holes.
Oh, my back.
You got to go suck my holes.
That one hurt my back.
Yeah, I like how you pulled that voice out of nowhere. You're so original.
I know. I'm big.
I gotta say, when you read as Rosie, you got slower and slower as it went on, and it's
hard on the voice. It's hard.
I know, but then don't do the voice.
I do. Listen. Why am I fucking here? All right, I'm here. I'm hard. I am ready to pump out of my Christmas balls and give you all my Christmas spirit. And you're gonna take it. And I don't care how fast or slow it comes. Because you know what? It's still coming. And I'm still coming.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Kill you.